You spent countless hours in the garage with your dad. Now investing in that old car and working on it with your son reminds you of him. And his legacy lives on. Fund your passion with a low-interest home equity line of credit from Bank of Blue Valley.
Wow, that's so exciting. What are you doing?
Oh, come on.
What are you doing? What?
I have to do something when you got Dolly Parton in the background there.
Why do I have this here?
I don't know, because you're working 9 to 5.
What a way to make a living. Just kidding.
That's
What
right.
are you doing?
I don't know. Just thinking about Burns McDonnell and Bank of Blue Valley. You know, what are you doing?
Oh, you know, just working. I'm going to go on a little vacation tomorrow, so I had to work really hard today.
Yeah, I got a little too tipsy at a charity event going to Vegas, huh?
Yeah, I'm going to go see Usher in Vegas. What's your favorite Usher song?
Yeah.
Is that an Usher song? I don't know that one.
Y-E-A-H. Yeah.
I do like 3 Usher songs, so it should be a good time.
My Way.
I know, Let It Burn.
Let it burn. There you go. Keep it going. Well, you know, one of our number one fans and one of our favorite guests is having some issues with Safari, Mr. Harry Campbell. So he apologizes.
Somebody go to Harry's house and help him get on the internet.
I know. I feel like everyone is going to go and help him. He is. He always say he's Kansas City's guest, and he truly is. He's awesome. But our panelists today are a lot of great entrepreneurs that everyone's really excited to talk to. I'm excited that you mentioned Vegas. I'm excited we mentioned Bank of Blue Valley. I'm excited we mentioned Burns and Mac. And speaking of that, they are both hiring a lot of people. So if you want to get in touch with them, you can reach out to Aaron and I directly, and we'll get you in touch with the right person within human resources or the hiring manager within that division, or you can go directly to their website.
Lucas is going to go over to Harry's house right now and help him get on.
Yes, good job, Lucas.
Who else is watching us besides Lucas? I can see you guys are watching. Who are you? What do you do? And how do you get to Kansas City? Tell us over here in the comments. Are you watching us on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube? Are you watching the replay or us live? Tell us all the things. All right. Well, we have a really great panel today. So let's just bring him up. Hey. All right. Valarie, Alexis, and Andre. Hi, guys. How are you?
What's up?
Look,
good?
Robin is here watching on LinkedIn, I'm guessing. Paul is here watching on dial-up. We got all sorts of people here watching you guys. How are you guys?
Awesome.
Good.
I wish I had more sound effects. They give me only these music sound effects. I would like clapping or something. That'd be way better, right? Well, we're super excited you guys are here. You guys ready to jump into it?
Let's do
Great.
it.
Let's do it. So Valarie, who are you? What do you do? And how do you get to Kansas City?
I'm Valarie Escobar. I'm a senior wealth advisor at Mariner. I traveled all over the world. I'm from El Salvador originally, lived in Virginia, Denver, Texas, Colorado, Tulsa just before here. That's where I started my practice and started with Mariner then about 10 years ago. And then I thought I wanted to go to the headquarters, which I did about 3 years ago, and got a cute little living situation with my son and my family, and that's why I'm here.
So how do you go from abroad to moving to the States to moving to the Midwest?
Yeah, Civil War. That's always a good motivator to leave a country. So that's how I came to the States. From there, it was both parents worked, they got work where they could get work. And then I kind of became, or maybe inherently, I'm a wanderlust. And so kind of lived in different areas. But coming from Virginia, which is where I really grew up, cost of living. That's always the big motivator for getting me out to the Midwest. So yeah, married somebody from the Midwest, and the cost of living kept me here. And it's a great place to raise kids.
What part of Virginia did you live in?
Northern Virginia. So I always consider it the Washington, D.C. sprawl.
Called the DMV. It's called the DMV.
The DMV or Nova. That was kind of where we were Nova.
Yeah. Okay, cool. I got lots of friends out there. Okay, so I love Mariner. When I was in the Big Brothers Big Sisters Most Wanted, I think the winner, either first or second place, was from Mariner. So how did you kind of you've been there for a long time. So I guess you want to talk to us about like how you ended up there, and then what kept you there?
Yeah. So I've always, I thought I want to do something with money. It was always very evident to me growing up with a single mom. If you don't have money, you're not going to have a lot of options. You're going to be stuck living in places and doing things that you don't want to do. And so money felt like a freedom, and knowing about it and understanding how to grow it seemed like something I really wanted for my life and to share with other people. And I started doing that. I started within banking because I didn't know where money would lead me. So I did banking. I did 401k custody work. I did annuity sales. I did it all. And finally found what's called an RIA, a registered investment advisory firm. And then realized that if I became a certified financial planner, I would be able to actually help clients with stuff that was helpful to them and not helpful to me and my commissions. And so that happened, I don't know, almost 20 years ago, I guess, is when I started. But with Mariner, I guess what I really loved was just that I can help with everything. And so, when it comes to, we do real hairy stuff now that I can help people with insurance that is much more suited for legacy planning. I can help with, business acquisitions or sales and alternative investments, and just with anything that has a dollar sign attached to it. And so the resources at Mariner has been what's really kept me here. And also I have a really awesome team. There's 5 women on my team and really awesome token male. He's not a token. He's a doll. He's a wonderful guy. But just finding colleagues and people that I can work with that, that we speak each other's language. It's been amazing.
Well, this is a selfish question, but what is your favorite guilty pleasure near your office with all those great restaurants and maybe a little fast casual? What's the one that you like to go to if you're treating yourself?
You know what? I went today it's not actually near my office. I went to Holy Land. It's a Mediterranean place. Oh my God. So good. Yeah, that place was awesome. And so, yeah.
That's a great answer. I was thinking you were going to say Whataburger or Chick-fil-A.
No, I'm a snob. I don't go to those.
I don't like Whataburger at all.
Yeah.
Whataburger's horrible. I'm sorry.
I know it. They had like free chicken sandwich day, breakfast day, and man, we had the odor of it all over the office, but I was the only one who's like snob. I don't know.
While you're disciplined and been in the business for 20 years and helping other people be disciplined.
I was too busy being disciplined. Just kidding. I had all sorts of chocolate and junk in my office.
Alexis, who are you? Who are you? What do you do? And how do you get to Kansas City?
So my origin story is rather short, but my name's Alexis. I am the owner and operator of BrightStar Care. We're a home care medical staffing company. So I started back in college as really an assistant and intern to the owner of BrightStar of Overland Park in Olathe. After working with her through my senior year of college, I started with her as her branch manager the day after graduating. Graduated on Sunday, started Monday morning as the branch manager. In 2019, I transferred from the branch manager role into the director of operations role. And I'm currently in the DOO role for BrightStar of Overland Park in Olathe. And then in less than a week, May 1st, we joint open 3 BrightStar territories in Missouri. So we will co-own BrightStar of North Kansas City, Metro Kansas City, and Lee Summit. So we provide in-home care to pediatrics to geriatrics. So 0, I think our oldest patient is 105 at one point. So whole gamut.
So Alexis, when you started with the company, how many people did you work with?
Your favorite thing.
Where is it today?
Yes.
Very impressive.
We have experienced 510% growth from 2016 to end of year 2022. When I started, there were 3 of us working in the office, and now my office team is at 12, and we will start a new team on the Missouri side. We're doing it all under one roof, so it's going to be interesting. 2 different business entities, 2 different LLCs, and we're going to house everybody under one roof. So I keep laughing and saying it's kind of like a big social experiment to see if the culture between the 2 teams is different, because they'll have different branch managers and different leaders. So it's going to be an interesting concept. We're the only BrightStar in the franchise to ever have done this. We go a little rogue from time to time. But yes, we've had 510% growth. I started with 3 internal employees, and now we're up to 12. All of our field staff is W-2s. So in 2022, we sent out about 360 W-2s at the end of the year. So high volume agency. Right now I have just under 200 active employees, ranging from caregivers, CNAs to LPNs and RNs. Kind of dances around that number from, retention time to time, but pretty high volume agency.
Wow.
So how many people were in the field when you started?
Ooh,
You said when you did
around
today,
30, around 30 to 50 when I first started. And now we dance around 200 on a normal census, but constantly hiring.
That's amazing. And then a little bit of, obviously it's the amazing owners like yourself, but also what spurred a lot of that growth. I mean, the pandemic changed healthcare immensely.
It did. Because we have the medical staffing umbrella too, we were really able to participate in a lot of COVID testing opportunities. So we were really heavily in the Missouri school district, and we were providing COVID testing to all of the Missouri schools, students and the faculty there. So we were really able to kind of leverage that medical staffing piece of our business, which we don't always leverage much. We're kind of home care at our core, but kind of have this additional umbrella that we get to use from time to time when these types of opportunities arise. So that really kind of took us and propelled us to that next level that we've been able to then carry on and sustain since.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
The other question I have is, for you personally, where did you learn your work ethic of long hours? Was it a necessity, or was it just like, hey, all these things need to get done, or?
So I actually just had this conversation with somebody the other day. So when I first started, I was in college. I didn't know what I didn't know. I didn't know anything at that point. But I was just loyal to it. I was loyal to the position. I was loyal to our patients. I love the patient care aspect of what we do, and knowing that at the end of the day, we're helping somebody out of bed every day. If we don't show up, if we're not there, somebody's not going to be able to get out of bed. And that kind of resonated a lot with me. It's a really vulnerable state to be in at that point in your life, when you can no longer provide your own care for yourself, and you're welcoming a stranger into your home to provide really intimate cares. And that from day one, that kind of set with me. And those long hours meant I was caring for somebody, whether I was doing it directly or not. We were providing care for somebody to be able to get out of bed, to be able to have the care that they needed and stay in their home, age in their home environment. And so honestly, it was really my passion for the industry that drove those long hours in the beginning. And luckily, we're at a place where it's less and less these days, but kind of kicking back up again as we open the new agency. But my parents both, also growing up, had really, really strong work ethics, and they owned a coffee shop too. So I kind of dabbled in working in a coffee shop as my first job alongside my mom on the weekends and things like that. So they always had very, very strong work ethics, and kind of stemmed from them.
I like it. All right, Andre, who are you? What do you do? And how do you get to Kansas City?
So my path to Kansas City was by way of the East Coast. So my mother's from upstate New York, Saratoga Springs, New York. My father lived here when they got married. He was in the service. We came here. And so Kansas City's really been home, although I have roots on the East Coast. But Kansas City's been home. And my name is Andre Davis. And I work for a company called Built, which built Mariners corporate headquarters, which is pretty cool. We love that space and interact often. Brian Heithoff, I think is his name, that works in your office. I've known Brian for a number of years. And we just did 1248, which is the family office for Bicknell, and 46 Penn. So Christian Charosa and I went through the Civic Council's Kansas City Moral Leadership Program. So a lot of the work that I do is around corporate and community engagement. So a lot of people ask what that is. So really what it is just interacting at a high level and trying to help owners, CEOs, entrepreneurs figure out how to get out of their own way and grow. And that's a lot of the work that I do. So when I came to build, it was always about how do we scale the business, being a very young business? How do we scale it? And so there are certainly some processes about that that we've implemented that's allowed us to kind of grow the business. Certainly not 510% growth. But I do think that bringing someone out from the outside of commercial construction with a different perspective is beneficial. There's this intersectionality moment that happens when you have experience outside of the industry, and you can bring some ideology in. And if you have owners that don't have egos and don't have to have always the right, be able to have the right answers, and they look for answers and they hire good people, you can sometimes help partners scale businesses. And so we're sort of in that process. Brand Meyer is part of the part ownership group. So Brand Meyer has money at Mariner. So we have an intimate relationship with Mariner. We love there. A good friend of mine just left and went there from BKD. And I'm blanking on her name now. She's part of the marketing team. I'm blanking on her name. Elizabeth
Kelly.
Yes. That was she was a client of mine when I worked for the Business Journal at BKD. Her and I just remained. I just had lunch with her 2 weeks ago. But anyway, so she's over there now. So just really trying to impact organizations and nonprofits and community in a way that is authentic, transparent, and I like the legacy aspect of it, having an impact on people. So part of what I do and part of my passion, which I hear you talk about, part of your passion with helping people that are vulnerable is purpose, right? So part of what I do is I spend time with really good people. I'm really fortunate. I get a chance. We just talked about this at lunch that my work allows me, not requires me, but allows me to interact with people and to really know them intimately and to help them solve problems that matter to them. And the business should come second, third, or fourth. You should be interacting with people, because if you can do that, you're really never not busy. And so Scott will tell you, and Aaron will tell you, my schedule stays jammed because I've been doing this for a while. And so it's just a lot of fun. And then doing things like this, obviously sharing experiences and perspectives. And all I'll share is a perspective. It's not rule of law, but it is a perspective. So,
Andre, I'm not trying to put you on the spot because it is hard to remember and recall all the things that you serve and you help. But maybe what are some of the things that you really enjoy serving on the boards that you're on, and then helping people in Kansas City? And again, you don't need to remember all of them, but because it's kind of hard when you're on the spot. You're like, oh yeah, I am on that board.
Most of them.
Yeah, most of them.
Here's what I'll tell you. This is something I don't really talk enough about, but it tells you, and you talked about it earlier, Valarie, about money gives you choices. It really is about. Here's an example, and I'll shorten this story because I know we got to speed up, but I don't talk enough about this. So a group of us that went to school together, college, came together, 6 Black men. We created a scholarship. We found out there was a need. We pulled our money together. We created a scholarship. And so we award money every year to junior students that are African-American. And what I can tell you that has happened from that, which has been really amazing, is we have kept people in school because of the money that we've created together. There was one student that he's from a different country, and the government seized the assets of his family's estate, and he could not finish. So the school came to us and said, could you award? Now, keep in mind, we have a contract with the school that we award 2 scholarships a year. This would have been a 3rd scholarship. What's cool about bringing people together for something legacy driven is that when we did that, we made a decision collectively, and we awarded the money, kept him in school so he could finish out. That was on a visit that we had been together in a lot of years. And so we came together, and then what happened? So that was one thing we started 3 years ago. And then this December, we had an alumni of that school that loved everything we were doing for the intentionality of it and who it was affecting. And the goal was always to get it to an endowment stage. And so this alumni donated money to speed up the endowment. So now it's a scholarship that's endowed. So it went from 3 years, no scholarship, to inception. And in 3 years, it's endowed. So I'm proud of that. I don't talk a lot about that because it's not here. but it's impacting the same people that I care about impacting, which is people that look like me, that come from disinvested communities. And so, it's nice to write checks, but it's also nice to get involved. And those communities need to see people that look like me go back in and really support in a lot of different ways, whether it's mentorship, coaching, whatever that looks like. So Big Brothers Big Sisters certainly is a part of that. Prep KC is certainly a part of that. But I also funnel work to High Aspirations. I funnel board members to Urban Ranger Corps. I have funneled board members to MOXA. And so I'm involved in, those kind of organizations because I care about those causes. And that's what I would tell people. If you're going to get involved in stuff that drive your purpose, passion, and why you exist, and what's going to speak to your legacy if you should not be here on Earth anymore. That's what I would tell you to get involved. But there's a number of things I'm also involved in too, civically.
Yeah, I feel like, whether it's hospitals or Kansas City Tomorrow or the Civic Leadership Council, you're involved in a lot. So for you, what has been one of the most exciting things that you're embarking on this year in terms of service?
So, and I don't talk a lot about this either, right? Because it's the work continues. Whether you get awards for anything, the work you do the work, and if somebody acknowledges the work, then you go with that, and that's all good. I think one of the things when I went through the Kansas City Moral Leadership Program through the Civic Council, first of all, didn't know anything about the leadership program. I was already very active, and bandwidth was limited. But when I went through that, and I completed it in 20, right in the pandemic, I was asked to be on the board by Mary Birch. And I said, I have no interest in board service. I mean, I had no interest in adding board service. And she said, no, really need to. So I jumped on the board. Then the second year, I finished my second year, they wanted me to be vice president of the board. And so the third year, they asked me to be the chair of the association, which is 1,000 members. Jeff Poe is a part of the Kansas City Tomorrow alumni.
CFO Mariner.
And I just met with Jeff rather, 2 weeks ago. And it uncovered this group of people that I never knew were a part of this program. So civically, I never thought about my civic engagement. I thought about my volunteerism. The civic piece matters just because you're dealing with policy making, and oftentimes policy making has a drastic effect on disinvested communities. You need the right voices at the table to make sure those things are happening in a way that's going to serve the people that need it most. And so that has surprised me because I was never really interested in civic engagement. I was really interested in volunteerism and helping community. The civic piece is a lot of power, legislation, things that are happening behind the scene that you don't know that's happening. All of that work, you need to be in those. We need voices like this, diverse voices, to be in those rooms when they're making the civic council and the group of members there make a lot of decisions, and they need diversity of thought to be in that room. So I have leaned into that. So it's been surprising, sort of that new access point that I now have in terms of civic council members, working with Dred Scott as the first ever African-American CEO of the civic council. They've never had someone of color run that organization. So it's just been fun to kind of be witness to some of the things that are happening, but then be vocal about the things we shouldn't be doing.
I don't know why I learned this when I was young. Like I didn't learn money or anything like that, but I remember somebody told me, they said, the most important people to know in your city are not necessarily like the face of the politics, but the person behind the face of the politics, right? At the local level, not the president of the United States, at the local level, because that's where all of this stuff is happening. That's the person that knows everything and is deciding on all the things. Those are the important people to know.
Speaking of that, Aaron, did you know I found this out? I was doing a talk at Rockhurst, a different department of Rockhurst, not the executive MBA program, but one of the staff members came up because I was doing a talk on leadership and DEI. And she said, did you know there's legislation right now in the state of Missouri where if you're an educational institution, you will not be able to have people come in and talk about DEI. And if you do, you will lose your funding. So where are the people? Where are the diverse people in the rooms when you're trying to push that legislation through? And there's
some insane stuff out there right now trying to get pushed through. Some of the craziest stuff in the past 20 years trying to be pushed through too. I mean, just last month in my state, they were trying to take away gay marriage.
Right.
Like, it's insane.
And that's at the local level.
Yeah, it's at the local level, because once it pushes at the local level, it goes, and we don't hear about it.
Right. So we need divorce. We need diverse voices in the room to level set, so that we can be advocates for the people that it's going to impact most. And that's what I've seen in terms of the Civic Council and Kansas City Tomorrow. Is it there are real issues in Kansas City. Some of the things we're talking about now is what happens after draft. There are going to be a pocket of people, we know this, that are never going to have access to the draft. They're not. And so what are we doing about that? So there's a discussion that we had with Chris Long and Jake Reed and others about what are you going to do before, after, and after the draft goes? What do we do about the communities that never have access? And is it okay that we will all have access to whatever we want, but there are people who won't? And are we okay with that? And so we have to think about that as a city.
Right. No, it's so crazy what stuff goes on behind the scenes that none of us, unless you pay attention, some great people to know in that space are like Slide James and Joni Wickham. Joni's a good friend of mine. She always knows what's going on, and just befriending people in that space is really
Aaron, what about a mentor of yours that you office with? Jason Parsons.
I don't office with him. He's my landlord.
That is one of the most amazing behind the scenes people in Kansas City. Can
I tell you a story about Jason really quick? Because I'm going to give him a shout out.
He's awesome.
He's going to kill me when I tell this story. So if you guys don't know Jason Parsons,
not on a live podcast. It's cool.
It's fine. Nobody's listening. Go follow him. I get like 500 views a week. That's great. Okay, so obviously everybody knows I had like a rough 6 months between all my stuff, right? For the past 6 months, I get a phone call from Jason Parsons every day telling me something great about myself. Because he said, until I can see it, he's going to keep reminding me every single day. Every single day. Yep. He's insanely kind. But yeah, he knows everything. So
if you get a chance, Aaron, ask Joni when Joni and Sly were when they launched the business and they were walking through the airport. Ask her about that experience when they were walking through the airport and people were looking at them too.
Yeah. People
thought they were dating, and she never had experienced that before. And have her tell you that story. It's a really interesting story.
That's funny.
Cliffhanger.
I'm gonna have to.
It is a cliffhanger. You're gonna have to stay tuned.
Back, guys. Don't you worry. I'm on the case. All right, guys. It's time for the Birds of McDonnell question of the day. Are you guys ready? Here we go. As soon as they're done, Valarie, you can answer the question.
Hello, my name is Lisa Diven. I'm a mechanical engineer at Burns & McDonnell. I currently write proposals for our oil, gas, and chemical business. And my question today is, what technology is essential for your business?
Ooh, okay. So you want the right answer, or you want the answer of what I actually like the best?
I want all the answers. All of the above.
All right. So, our organization, client, CRM, what's that called? The thing that tells you like what's all going on with your clients.
Like CRM, yeah, you're
right. Yeah, the where they are, how much, what their account numbers are. That's whatever that stands for. Super important. If we lost that, we'd lose a lot of information. But that's so boring. I love our financial planning software. We use one called, I don't know. Do you want me to tell you what it's called? Not that matters to anybody. It's called eMoney, which a lot of different planners will use it. But to me, that is where the magic happens. And so it's where you put in all the information about a client. They're like, well, what if I buy a boat? Or what if I, don't leave anything to my child that I don't like anymore? What are all these situations? And then how does it play out? And how do we make their goals happen, given what it is that they want? And it really feeds the answers to, what does the investment return need to be in order to get there? It's very dynamic in that, it's a picture. I'm very visual myself, and I find a lot of clients are very visual, and it allows us to really break out everything and say, this is why this is happening. And so everyone from artists to like engineers love it. It's been really great. And so to me, it's where I get to nerd out, and it really brings everything to life.
Just for a fun fact for those listening, a CRM is a customer relationship manager.
Oh, I got 0 of those. I thought client retention something.
I like client retention.
You're just one of the biggest advisors in the country, doing it for 20 years. You don't need to know.
Whatever, it's a thing.
Valarie, I just Googled it.
Oh, awesome, saved.
Well, you guys are owners. You're not sales nerds like Andre and I. Everyone knows a CRM.
Yeah.
Alexis, what's your favorite technology?
So I will give you our basic answer. It's our proprietary system that's going to have all of our client and employee information in it. But if I'm being real about the tool that we use the most, it's our phones. So remote workforce means something totally different in home care. We meet our employees and our staff on the day they attend orientation and most likely don't see them again unless they have a reason to come back to the office to pick up a paycheck. We also do annual compliance training and things like that. But outside of that, we don't see them any time of day. So we're connected to our phones to build that relationship, maintain that relationship. It's all over text and over the phone. So without that, we don't have a relationship with our staff.
A friend of the show, Joel Goldberg, talks a lot about emojis and then that being a big part of how we communicate with each other.
Yeah.
How do you use emojis with your staff? Because I feel like an emoji can communicate a lot of different things in a good way.
Yeah, it's an interesting question. So we have a lot of staff members in my office that are coined as a management position just based off of what their roles and responsibilities are. But when we're talking about our client care managers, those are going to be primarily the employees in my office that are scheduling and managing the client schedule, managing the employees or with those clients and things of that nature. So they're the ones that have to have a very friendly relationship with our employees. So we used to have a structure where they were the ones being responsible for performance evaluations, disciplinary actions, things like that, because they knew the employees the best. But on that same token, they're the ones, potentially begging someone to go to work if we have a last minute call off at a 24/7. And if you've completed a disciplinary action with that employee the day before, the likelihood they're going to go to work for you is pretty slim. So it's actually really interesting on the employees in my office who lean into emojis a little bit more than others, just kind of based off of their relationship with the employee. You want to maintain that friendly relationship when you're scheduling. You have to, or else they're, if you're kind of coming at it from a managerial perspective, they're not going to respond well. They're looking for somebody who's more friendly in that regard. So that's going to be kind of my scheduling team. And it's even just hey, can you pick up this shift? Yes, no, like look at your phone really quickly and respond, just making it easy and as quick as possible to get a response in those situations.
What's your favorite emoji?
My favorite emoji?
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, it's the heart hands.
That's what I was just going to put on here. That's my favorite one too.
That's my favorite.
You guys know that one? I'm going to do it.
I haven't checked out. Apparently there was an update and there's 21 new emojis. I haven't looked at them yet. I don't know. I could have a new one. I don't even know.
This is my favorite emoji as well. Oh, it doesn't show up on here. Man, the heart hands.
Heart hands.
That's the real hip one to use right now, guys. Alexis.
Uh-huh.
So you're welcome. Scott, do you ever use that emoji?
No, I don't. I don't know what I do the most. It's probably hearts, not the heart hands, the strong, the whiskey, and then I use the CEO because I work with majority women, so I use the female CEO.
Oh.
So that's what I
named that emoji, the CEO. Okay, so do you know what what will automatically make you look old if you use this emoji? It's the one that's like this, like the one winking. I got one like the tongue's out and you're like winking and the eyes open.
That makes you look old? Why?
That makes people look old. You like it, don't you? That means you're old.
I've used it. I don't feel old using it. I just feel like I use it.
I'm just telling you, it's not hip anymore. Get off of
Andre,
it.
you give a lot of fist bumps.
I go a lot in whiskey. I like the whiskey and I like the thumbs up.
Yeah.
Yes. I could have. Yes.
Yeah. I don't
I'll
use
give
the
you hip,
middle finger
Andre.
very
Don't
much.
use that one.
No.
Don't use the winky one.
No.
Andre,
Yes.
what technology do you like?
Technology that works is what I like.
That you love in your job.
Amen.
Don't ask Terry Campbell right now.
Terry Campbell would not say yes to that. Harry would have a problem with that. So I like, whatever works for you. We're using Teams chat. I know some organizations use Slack. Some organizations use GroupMe. We use GroupMe at KCT. But we also have a proprietary software in the business that runs sort of our design software. So when we did Mariner, we had design software we were designing in. But what's cool about that, it's also proprietary. It also runs the machines at the factory because we're off-site manufacturer, prefab everything. So when we're designing, that technology speaks to the CNC machines and they begin to precision cut. And so just making things a little bit more innovative in terms of how you do that. So that's one part of the business in terms of production. Obviously I'm with the Lex phones. I mean, I'm remote most of the time. We have an office here, but I'm in meetings and it's about efficiency. So if I'm in Prairie Village and our office is in Lenexa and I have a meeting on the plaza, I am certainly not driving to Lenexa just to be in there and hang out. I'm going to work from a coffee shop and go to my meeting. So I'm hardly ever in the office. And so for me, it's our phones, our devices, our emails, everything that allows us to communicate fast, often, and be attentive about when we're responding to our client mix, because they don't want to wait for answers. So, having good devices and Macs and all that, or laptops, whatever you use, I mean, to me, that's what keeps us active, engaged. And then our project managers have a whole different system that they have to work through in terms of keeping plans together, et cetera. And so that's a whole world I don't operate in. I'm more on the front end of discussions, and then we turn it over to our constructability team when we need to. And I'm typically out of those conversations because I'm not useful there. I'm useful in other areas. So,
Right.
Yeah.
What do you guys not have offices downtown anymore? You moved to Lenexa?
We moved. Yeah, we moved. So we long story, won't get into it, but we had some damage. We had a tenant on the top floor that let water run for a full day. And so our walls look brown, is what I would say, and not a brown good. And so because of how we build using DIRT's construction technology, we're able to disassemble tiles. But once the tiles get wet, you can't use the tiles. You can use the frames. So the cool thing is we took the frames from that space and moved it out to our Lenexa office and reused everything. Except
I need to come see it.
So we'll be doing a grand opening. You're invited. Well, all of you guys are invited. We'll do the grand opening probably in June.
Oh,
Wow,
I'm really
so
busy in
you're gonna
June.
be
Get it on my
Lenexa.
calendar now.
Lenexa permanently.
Yeah. So right off 89th and Bond, so just on the back side of Best Buy in that area. And so we actually, which is really a cool partnership, we think we've actually have partnered with Mercer Zimmerman. And so they had an extra space, and they had their whole space is built out in DIRT construction. So we're able to show their space, and then we're going to show what we did by disassembling everything down from 19th to McGee, and then moving that out and reusing everything in a new space, but then adding components to it. So it'll be a cool story. It's a cooler office than we had at 19th McGee. I will say that.
Yeah, the reason why Andre is the old chief revenue officer is he turns that story into the best sales pitch of well.
Oh,
you know
I'm selling that.
Whether it's Mariner or Hub,
that's right.
They all have it.
That's right. So no, it'll be a good story for the people that it matters for, right?
What's
Aaron,
that?
with your permission, I don't know if you want. I think the artificial intelligence question of how you or anyone else on the panel sees how that affects the technology. Do you want to ask that question, or do you want to go to the goals?
I mean, I think we're probably going to ask it now that you brought it up, but I don't know the question, so you ask it.
So, Valarie, how do you feel artificial intelligence may change your business? I think it's happening at such a drastic pace right now. I think for the viewership, understanding how it affects everyone is unique.
Yeah, I mean, from the front end, our job just, I don't know. I don't see it being like a replacement at all from advisory standpoint or anything like that. As far as like opportunities for investments, yeah, like that is absolutely where it's going to be next generation. We tend to, I mean, with all things, we want our clients to be successful in the worst case scenario. And so a lot of stuff when it comes to new technologies, we do take a sort of sit and watch and wait type of approach. So we'll see. We definitely think, I mean, with crypto and things like that, yes, it is an opportunity, but how it's going to play out, I don't know. My crystal ball hasn't come clear on that piece yet.
How's your crystal ball on the, hold on. How's your crystal ball on the crypto?
So I have recently, Mariner has a podcast called Your Life Simplified. And I actually had a guest on, Rick Edelman, a few weeks ago. We had a whole conversation about crypto. So if you want to check that out, absolutely check it. But it's not going away. Absolutely not going away. I think that if you have some gambling money that you're like, either I could go to the casino or I can buy crypto. Don't put your life savings in it, but it's definitely has tons of potential still. I mean, you're not going to become the billionaire that you would have come if you had bought it 10 years ago. But certainly not something that we should ignore. If you have a little bit of extra cash, a great opportunity, I think.
I like that answer. Okay, I'm gonna listen to your podcast. Can you put that in my DMs, please? Thank you. Okay, Alexis.
Yeah, I'm really going to echo some of what Valarie said, that AI hasn't really made its way into home care yet. So much of what we do is all human based. We're human employees, human clients. There's so much room for human error in what we do every single day. And I would say AI hasn't really made its mark on the home care industry yet. ...
Yet.
Wait.
Yet.
Andre, what about yourself?
Hey, look, I lean into technology. I think there's a place for AI. I think there's a place for Chat GPT. I think there's, you can use it. I played with Chat GPT. I do some speeches around the city, and I played with that a little bit, just saying, hey, if I want to do a talk on inclusive leadership, and it wrote out the speech.
Mm-hmm.
That's not something I'd want to use because I like personal touch and experiences and sharing the personal experience. So it wouldn't be something I'd want to use. But in the business, we are a technology forward company, right? And so I think what we see is, we're already using our artificial intelligence. If Siri is artificial intelligence, I mean, these are prompts, right? So if you say, call my mother, it knows what to do because that's artificial intelligence, right? Mm-hmm. So there is a place for it. I think we have to be careful. We don't feel like it'll be used in construction or anything like that. Construction doesn't lean into innovation. They don't lean into technology that way. We're not worried. We use it in design, right? And so we have Oculus glasses and all that stuff that you can use and view a space and walk around and all that. So, we'll use it in the design kind of in framework, but outside of interacting with clients, maybe if you have someone, Scott, that's new to the world of what it means to do really, really unique relationship building, and he wanted to craft a LinkedIn message that would get attention, maybe you could Chat GPT that and get some feedback and start a framework. I mean, that's not a bad thing to do either because it helps you craft the message, but I don't see how it's impacting our business. Other things, education, it's going to be an impact there. Right. Mm-hmm. Teachers will have to worry about that and think about what's being used but I don't think it'll impact our business.
Thank you, Aaron, for letting me ask a question. I just think it's really interesting. I think from a sales perspective and a back office perspective, those are two things that every professional business, so not necessarily saying the replacement of it, but the actual back office work will allow current associates, folks like myself, to be able to do more, but we always have to troubleshoot it and see what it is. But Aaron, I don't know if you have anything in your world that artificial intelligence affects, but I just think it's really interesting how quickly it's going.
I totally geek out on the AI stuff.
I know you do. I thought you'd love the question.
I know. But I do have a question. I have a really important follow-up question. Alexis, do you have an Alexa in your house, and does it often get confused?
I was like, she might even talk here if you say it loud enough. Yes. We actually had to change the one in our front office where most of my employees sit to name her Echo because it was responding a little too much.
I have a couple friends named Alexis in it all the time. I'll be like, yes. Oh, Alexis, and my Alexa will be like,
and I never even thought that way. I would have never thought to use that for Alexa. I would have never,
Yeah.
My brain works like no other.
Oh, we know. No, we know.
All right, let's talk about this. We've got like 17 minutes left. So can you guys believe that we're almost halfway through Q2? Like, what is going on? I cannot even understand time. But as we say that, how is your year going so far? Because remember at the beginning of the year, everybody said recession, recession, recession. Mm-hmm. And how is your year going so far? Are you on target for goals? And what is your plan to finish out the rest of the year and make sure that all of that talk gibberish at the beginning of the year doesn't affect you? Go ahead, Valarie.
Oh my gosh. Am I supposed to know the answer by now? It's interesting. So when you say recession, obviously being in the investment, being in the world that I'm at, that carries a lot of weight with a lot of different people. We feel that oddly, the whole crash with like SVB, the banking fiasco that sort of didn't really amount to anything, which is exactly the way it was supposed to be. It was very niche. It had this weird silver lining that it made the Fed slow down from raising rates like they were going to, because if they continue to raise rates like they had planned on, then it would make the holdings at Silicon Valley Bank and other banks continue to drop, which would continue exasperate the problem. And so the Fed was able to say, okay, we will not only cover, well, the FDIC covered the $250,000 deposit amount, but the Fed was able to also step in, and the government covered all deposits. So everyone was made whole, not the investors of the banks, but the depositors. But then the Fed also, I think, kind of said, well, we're not going to quite raise rates like we were going to. And then if you don't raise rates, then you're not going to drive the recession. The equity markets, businesses in general, they don't want raising rates because it makes it harder to borrow. And so you can't build a business as quickly, or you probably won't build a business as quickly or as robustly if rates are going up. Now that that's not happening, recession is probably not on the horizon like we had thought as a result of that. And so, I mean, year to date, gosh, I think I actually don't watch the markets every day, but S&P, when I look at reports, it's up almost 7%. We had kind of expected that to be the case for the whole year. And so it being up, and it's like you said, like only half the year somehow is almost here. It's looking like it's pretty good. It's going to make for a little bit easier year if clients are able to recoup losses from 2022 and much quicker than they had hoped for. And so, I don't know. When it comes to goals, I have a funny way of doing it because for the better or for worse, I just consider all my clients my friends and my buddies, and like I just want to hug them all the time. And so going out and getting a whole bunch of new friends isn't always necessarily what my objective is, even though probably business development would love it. That's what it's supposed to do. But I guess my business development goals, who knows? I don't know if I'll get a whole bunch of new clients or not, but I do think that it could end up being a really nice year for my existing clients, which warms my heart. And so that means that I will be happier by the end of the year. Fingers crossed.
I understood half of what you said, and it sounds like you're really good at money. People should use you.
Things are probably looking up, less scary than they could have been. So, and I apologize.
No, it makes sense.
I like it. All right, Alexis, how about you?
So the healthcare space is kind of weird post-COVID. So it's been interesting to see how employee wages raised so much during that COVID period, and they were receiving hazard pay, and they got used to these really escalated wages. And that really tanked our margins because it wasn't a time in which we could also raise those bill rates from a client side as well. So we kind of hit that point early this year where we were able to raise our client as well, bill rates as well. And so we're kind of starting to see some of that margin level out, but it's also making a smaller population be able to actually afford home care. So 50% of our business is all private pay. The other 50% of our business is going to be a mix of VA, skilled Medicaid. We work very heavily with the pediatric population through skilled Medicaid. And then we work with a lot of pharmacies doing in-home infusions and home injections, wound care, everything. You name it, we do it. But it's really interesting too, because we're leaning more into that side of our business as we're seeing some of that private duty drop off a little bit because of how high the rates have to be now in order to compensate for the staff. It's also interesting with now being our own neighbor in Missouri, so much of our Overland Park and Olathe business was actually in the Missouri territories. So really interesting that we're now becoming our own neighbor. So we want these territories to succeed, but it's also taking from what we currently have as our baby in Overland Park and Olathe. So really using it as an opportunity to actually expand kind of more into the rural areas of Kansas, which we've never done before because we had everything in the metro right at our fingertips. So there wasn't really a need for it. So kind of using this as an opportunity to expand into the Lawrence, the Topeka, and go further west and kind of allow access to in-home infusions and in-home care, skilled nursing wise, for those populations that have a harder time accessing healthcare. And a lot of those, if you're receiving infusions, you're driving in all the way into Kansas City to be at a clinic or to be at the hospital. So trying to start to tap that and see how we can access kind of that more rural population and kind of recoup some of what we're seeing as a loss in private duty because of the raised rates.
Okay, I have a question for you.
Yeah, ask away.
So in July, I fell down the stairs and broke all my bones. In my leg. And then I had to have home health care. And we had called 47,291 places before someone would take insurance. Why? But they all took Medicaid, right? Like they were like, if you were 80, this be fine. But if just because you broke your bones, this can't be fine. Why is that so many places just don't take in? Like there were just Just a couple.
So, I mean, the rates are incredibly low when you dive into insurance. So we don't either. So we're not Medicare certified or true Medicaid. We only work with skilled Medicaid on a waiver program, but we don't take insurance or true Medicaid or Medicare. So it really drills down to how low, for us at least, how low the reimbursement rates are. It's just not an affordable business line and not something that we can sustain with the wages that staff are requiring now. Home care and home health are not an industry that a lot of healthcare providers and healthcare workers come out of school thinking about. They don't receive education on it through schooling. That was a huge rock for us in 2022. My talent manager was able to start hosting clinicals. So we now do clinical rotations in home care for nursing students, and they've never done that before. We just are trying to find access to these healthcare workers on the front end of it, rather than them waiting to hear about us kind of later in their career. But it's not something a lot of people know about, the flexibility wise and things of that nature. So it's a whole industry that's underpopulated with healthcare workers. But then on the flip side of that, you're paying some increased wages, and you're not recouping that when you dive into insurance and Medicare and Medicaid.
Yeah, it was insane.
I'm sure.
I also felt like I was best friends with my girl, and then I never heard from her ever again after.
You know how often we get that? It's actually so funny.
Yeah.
Yes, it's comical because you create a relationship, and especially like our
infusion. 3 times a week. We spend a lot of time together. Why aren't we friends? I don't understand it.
Yes, it's a whole interesting industry. I love
They're
it.
like in your space, right? Like it's really intimate.
Yes,
so
it is.
All right. Well, if you find Emily, you let her know I'm thinking about her. Okay, Andre, how about for you on the year and the goals and all the stuff?
Yeah, construction is different, right? It's the sales cycles are long. There's supply challenges, there's cost challenges, where things are happening, depending on what vertical you're chasing and where you're building, whether it's corporate, et cetera. We are doing a mix of a lot of different things. Corporate, healthcare. Healthcare is one thing that we really are focused on. We're doing a lot of healthcare right now. So we ended on a great year. We're having a great year. We just completed a project that we had never worked with, was University of Kansas Health System in Corbin Park, which is amazing. It's a clinic that there's not another clinic in the region that'll look like that. Let me just tell you that. And so there's a lot of opportunities to work with University of Kansas Health System, because this is the first time they've ever used prefab technology to do any kind of building. It's just not been their thing. So we are very bullish on this year. We think this is going to be a really, really good year for us. But I think what I would tell people to do that are paying attention is, like Valarie talked about, she loves her clients. And if you have a relationship with your clients, they're going to tell you if there are challenges that coming up that we as a team need to be worried about. And so I'm intimate with my clients in the sense that, tell me what you're experiencing in your industry. Are you contracting? Are you aggressive? What's happening? I think that's how you start to mitigate some of the things that might set you back, is knowing what your clients are experiencing, or even your potential clients that you're going after. What are they experiencing for the year? If they are struggling this year, they may not be a really good client right now until they can figure out the struggle. And so those are conversations you need to have. Those are conversations I have with clients. And you have those transparent conversations when you have a really good relationship with your clients. And so that's some of the work we're doing, but we're tracking very well. I'm proud of some of the projects that we're winning, because Built, that you have to know, but you guys know this, Valarie and Alexis don't, but a lot of folks don't know what Built is still. I mean, I've been there 5 years, and hopefully through, my access, there's a little bit of name recognition now for the business and kind of the work that we do. But, we're winning really compelling work. We're going to work with AirShare on their new move, which was a relationship that I had with John Owens. And so we're excited about the potential to work with them, and we are going to be working with them. But let's continue to do really good work, client by client, and your year will turn out fine. Take care of your clients. Don't think through your clients. Take care of your clients, and let that continue to be your calling card. And I think
you say AirShare?
Yes.
I'm on the waiting list. I can't afford it, but I believe if I put myself on the waiting list, I will be able to.
I love it.
Get to me.
I love it. I love it. I'm ready when you are.
All right. Listen, do you remember last time you were on the show, like 2 years ago, you announced the KU thing?
Look, let me tell you something. You hit a sore spot. Let me just jump in. That was 3 years. That was a 3-year. Look, the reality is when an institution like that, a massive institution, it's like academia. they don't change quick. There has to be a reason for the change. I knew that, right? So I was having really robust conversations at a high level there. And, look, I will tell you, it's one of the more prouder moments of me working with Bill, because the way that project happened, how it happened, and what it turned out to look like. Scott, if you haven't been there since Corbin Park, it is. And then when we did the grand opening, we saw the faces of Tammy Peterman, Bob Page, et cetera, that run the organization. And you see their mousetrap, you have served well, because it's exactly what they wanted, and we delivered that. That's what makes you really proud. It's not because we want a big project and it's this thing that, it's driving revenue. It's the fact, how did the clients experience it? And they experienced it in a way that was super collaborative. And so, and I did tell the system, at my age, I don't have too many more 3-year sales cycles in me. I'm gonna need you to speed that up, though. I'm gonna need you to go ahead and speed it up a little bit. So we'll see what the next project looks like.
You're still a baby.
I am a baby.
I like it. Well, what an amazing show, right, Scott?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
You're trying to get me to do the banter, but you're so good at it.
Yeah, I didn't let you talk the second half. I'm sorry. Here's the deal. You can follow all of our guests on LinkedIn. We want to thank all of you guys for coming on. This was great. You can also go follow Bacon Blue Valley and Burns and McDonnell. Like Scott said earlier, they are hiring. They're hiring so many people. So go make sure you check those out. Scott, thanks for being such a great co-host. You're my favorite. We really appreciate you guys. We will be back here same time, same place next week. And make sure you follow all of our guests. Thank you, panel, for being here. We really appreciate it. Bye, guys.
Bye.